What's going on? Today I'm going to show you how to change the alternator on LT1. This works for Cadillacs, Caprices, Buick Roadmaster, the Impala. Not sure about the Corvette. I think the Corvette's different. I want to say it has a lower mount alternator. But this will work for all those other cars. It's easy. Really isn't any reason to take a car to a shop to have alternator changed. You could do it in a parking lot, parts store if you needed to. Pretty much if you can turn a wrench, you can change this alternator. So I'll show you how it's done. And these are the tools you'll need. Simple, common hand tools. Just a ratchet, 3/8 drive, I guess would be the best. You could probably do it 1/4 inch drive. This little tool here is quite handy. If not, I would use an 8mm wrench. You can use a socket, but if you do, take your negative battery off first. That way your positive doesn't arc up against the wheel well, because the wheel wells are metal in these cars. At least the Cadillac is. I'm pretty sure all the other ones are as well. You can use an extension to get to the bolt by the water pump if need be. This isn't exactly required. You can do it without loosening that bolt. Hence I found out afterwards mine was already loose, but at the end of the video I'll show you where it is and how to tighten it. 13mm. If yours is correct from GM, it should be 13mm on the front of the alternator. There's a 15mm bolt or a 15mm nut on the back side. If yours are like mine, you'll have a 13mm on the top one and a 15 on the bottom, but it shouldn't be that way. But you can use your 15mm for your belt tensioner and the little bolt holding the bracket that goes up to the alternator, kind of in the water pump area. That's it. Simple tools, simple job. About 15 minutes if you weren't filming a video, maybe a half hour. It's not bad. So this is the problem we're having. At a low idle or low RPMs, the alternator light's staying on. It does eventually go out once I start driving, and I've been driving it for this way for probably about 2 years, but it's probably about time to go ahead and change it. As you can see, it just stays on. Sometimes you can rev it up and it'll go out, but a lot of times you gotta get to pretty high RPMs. Pretty much around 40, 50 miles an hour, it'll eventually go out. See? But then it comes right back on at a low RPM. So we're gonna go ahead and change it out today. All right, so first of all, you wanna disconnect your battery because there is a live wire on the back of that alternator. So if you don't disconnect your battery, you could short it out and have some sparks. You don't want that. You only gotta disconnect the positive side. Your ground isn't going to hurt anything. It's not like you're going to get a spark through your ground. But just disconnect this side and you'll be good to go. And you kind of just want to pull it out of the way. Make sure it's not going to come back and touch that battery cable again. Next on your list, we'll pull the belt off. It's got a serpentine belt, so it's just one belt on these cars. Wouldn't hurt to take a picture, make a drawing. Most cars have a belt routing diagram, and just check it out before you get started. If it has one, it'll save you a headache. If not, it can get a little bit confusing, so draw it on a piece of cardboard, or like I said, take a picture. But I'm not going to take the complete belt off. Basically what I'm going to do, the tensioner is down there on the bottom. I'll show you a little bit closer picture here in a second. I'm just going to unhook this, pull the belt aside, kind of let it hang. Try and leave everything else on the pulleys. This car has a really simple pulley system, so it's not bad if you do get it messed up. So there's the tensioner I was telling you about. It's in between the AC compressor and the crankshaft pulley, so it's pretty easy to get to. You can reach in it from the top. Really no need to get underneath the car. It is a 15mm and it pushes down. It's not really too hard to do. If I can get my arm out of the way, you can see it. You just want to push it down, and with your other hand, take the belt off the top of the alternator. You got the tensioner pushed down. And just pull the belt right off. Really, I should be replacing the belt now, but I'm not having any problems out of it, so I'm just going to let it ride. And kind of just squeeze that in there so it stays where you want it. Just like that. Then we got a 13mm bolt right here. It's got a 15mm nut on the back, but I think we can get away without using a wrench on the back side. But we'll find out. Probably wouldn't hurt to have that thing in the off position. Yeah, you should be able to hold it by hand. If not, it's 15mm. I did double check it earlier. Or you can use an adjustable wrench. Just pull that out. It looks like whoever else was in here before left that loose. Shame on them. Don't do that on your car. It wasn't me, by the way. And this one down here looks to be the opposite. I would have to look on my other Fleetwood to see it, but I think it goes in the same way this one does, where the 13mm is facing out and the 15mm is facing towards the front of the car. I think somebody put that in backwards. Yours may vary, so you'll just have to see. But either way, you'll just have to look. It's one of the two, and they did tighten that very well. Pulls out just like that. Go ahead and get your bolt out of there so it doesn't fall into the abyss, never to be seen again. And now the fun begins. We got a plug here. Somebody did some shoddy craftsmanship before and they never put the cover back on, but we'll be putting the cover back on. But this is the battery cable I was telling you about. So if you don't unhook your battery, you'll have 12 volt constant power there. And you could very easily arc it in this area. So unhook your battery. And we got a plug right here. This just pops right out. Just like that. Little tab right there. Push it back with your thumb. Usually come out pretty easily. And now we'll pull that out. That nut takes a 13mm. If you're in the junkyard and you're trying to save this, I'm not. Unless you're putting a brand new alternator on there. But if you're in a junkyard trying to get one off, you may want to hold on to this cable here, because sometimes the whole thing will spin and it could actually bust that stud on the inside of the alternator. Just like that. See how it's moving? If you're trying to save an alternator, you want to get your hands in there so where you guys can't see. And turn it and hold it at the same time. But this one, I don't really care. It's junk. I got a new one to put on there. And now you're ready to pull your alternator out. It's pretty simple. One thing to keep in mind. There's a ground right there. You want to make sure to hook that back up. I can't exactly say what it'll do if you don't hook it up, but I have literally put motors in and had them not fire up because of one ground. Could do that to this motor, not positive. But it wouldn't hurt to clean that up with some sandpaper or a wire wheel or wire brush, whatever you got. I'm going to do that as well. So installation is pretty much exactly opposite of removal. You know, if you feel confident doing it, which I mean you should, it's pretty easy. You know, you can pretty much end here. I will keep making the video and finishing it. If you want, you can take a break. You can hit the like button. You can subscribe. I do all kinds of Fleetwood videos. They mainly pertain to LS, or not LS, but LT motors. You know, I got fuel pump videos. Pretty much whenever something happens on my car that I can see somebody else can relate to save a buck or help them out. You know, I've worked on stuff and I've been stumped, and YouTube's come to save the day. So yeah, subscribe, hit the like button. Other than that, I'm gonna get back to this and I'll show you how to put it back on. So we got our bracket all shined up. We got the back of this wire shined up. And after just a little bit of inspection, yeah, your car won't start without this. This is the ground wire for your battery. So definitely hook that back up. And before I put it all back together, I'm gonna put a little bit of that on there. It's dielectric grease. Helps kind of keep down corrosion, promote a better connection in the wires, keep water out of plugs. I'm gonna put it on the plug also. And a little wire back there. I'm also clean that up too. Now I'm looking at it, it's looking a little rough. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll start putting the alternator back in. There we got our wire all shined up, and also I looked on my other Fleetwood. This bolt does go in that way, so that's the way GM did it. One thing you always want to make sure to do is put your old alternator next to your new alternator. Make sure they look the same, because I have done a lot of these where it'd be clocked differently or different options, so you don't want to do that. Point and case. You see the difference? Thick side, plug. Thin side, plug. So that's awesome. I don't even know why I bought this for this vehicle. Now I gotta take it apart and reclock it. Cool, glad I'm not in a hurry or anything. All better. just in case you have to do this, this is a really easy one to clock. You literally don't have to take hardly anything apart. You don't have to take the pulley off or nothing. Just pull these 4 bolts out. There's 2 on the bottom. Pull those out, and you can just turn that 180 degrees, put your bolts back in. Really simple. That's why I love these cars. Throw a little bit of dielectric grease on there. And to really glob it on a little goes a long ways. Throw a little glob in the plug. It's about time for me to get some new dielectric grease. I've kind of had this for quite a while. It served me well. Put a little bit right up front where the ground connects, and a little bit on the ground, and we're ready to throw our alternator back in. Alright, now that we've totally listened to the suggestions by Cadillac Dan, and we test fitted this first, and we know it fits perfectly, now we can put it back in the car. Get that out of the way. Hook our plug up, make sure it clicks. Just like that. Throw our positive cable on there. And same thing as when you're taking this off. You want it tight, but you don't want to hulk up on it and snap the thing off. Just like that. And unlike the previous installer, we're going to cover that up, because that is a short waiting to happen. I don't remember if that goes around the little plastic grommet there. I don't believe it does. I think it just butts up to it. Yes. So we got our connection on. We got our wire on. Time to set it in. Set it and forget it. Well, maybe not. You should probably finish bolting it the rest of the way in. And we got our bolt up front on the bottom. Get it all lined up. Got our ground on there. That one's good to go. Go ahead and get our top one in there. Keep it from wobbling around. Just like that. Throw a nut on there. And then we'll do our bottom one the same. Now, as you can see, that one is a little bit of a pain to get in there, but if you just put it on the end of your finger like that, use your other hand and kind of walk it down there, you can line it up on the end of that nut pretty easily. That's more likely why the bolt was put in backwards before. Somebody was just lazy and didn't want to put it in the same way it came out, but it's not that hard. Just take your time. And on a side note, this little bracket here is loose. That nut down there, it's a 15mm also. And honestly, it probably wouldn't hurt to loosen that to pull the alternator. It might make your life a little bit easier. It will go in there, but that'll make it a little bit easier. And you can stick a ratchet straight through the front of the water pump to get right on it. In there somewhere. There we go. Yeah, just go straight through. Easy to get to. Save yourself a little bit of headache maybe. Nice new shiny part. Now all we gotta do is put the belt back on, and we will be done. Same as before, put 15mm on the tensioner, pull it down, and bring your belt around. Make sure that it is on all the pulleys still. Make sure that it is where it needs to be on all the pulleys. Last thing you want to do is fire the car up and sling the belt. So we are all good here. Time to fire it up and see if we fixed it. After hooking your battery up, of course. Jeez, who would forget to do that? And in some rare occasions, mainly just this car, I've never had it in any of my other Fleetwoods, it takes a while to start back up. It'll start up and shut off a few times, let it sit, and then it fires right up and goes back to normal and never has a problem again. Don't understand all that, but it's something this car does. It's always done it every time I change the battery. See? And then sometimes it decides to start right up. Or not. There we go. And the best thing of all, no alternator light. We fixed it. Yay! Voila! There you have it. Nice shiny new part. So, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. I do a lot of work on Fleetwoods. It's kind of like my main forte. That I own 2 of them, and I'm always looking to buy more. I've had a bunch in the past. Plan to have a bunch more in the future. So, there should be plenty of content. It's just not for Fleetwoods also. Like I said, it does carry over to Buicks, Impalas, Caprices. I know there's one more I'm forgetting. I cannot think of what it is. But anyways, yeah, so hit the like button, comment, let me know if it helped you out. Hopefully it did. Like I said, it's an easy job. So we'll see you on the next go around. Peace.
What seems to be the problem?
Good shot. Got away free. It lives to die another day.